I am Ethan, the 35-year-old librarian. I arrived at the neighborhood library on a beautiful sunny morning. The serene atmosphere and the warm sunlight pouring through the windows created a comforting ambience. I walked through the library's aisles, making sure everything was in order. During my rounds, I noticed a peculiar stain on the floor in one of the corridors. Intrigued, I approached it and realized it was a bloodstain. My heart skipped a beat as I followed the trail, only to discover the lifeless body of a young woman in her 20s, bearing numerous stab wounds. Shock and fear engulfed me as I stood there, trying to comprehend the horrifying sight before me. My immediate instinct was to contact the police, but as I prepared to dial the number, my eyes caught sight of a piece of paper lying beside the girl's body. My curiosity got the better of me, and I picked it up, revealing a series of numbers, 0987122. Confusion washed over me as I pondered the significance of these digits. Suddenly, it struck me that 09 could be a shelf number in the library, and 87 might represent a book. But what about 122? Could it be a page number? I hurriedly made my way to the designated shelf, searching for book number 87. After a brief search, I found it, a romance novel titled Falling Leaves. With mounting curiosity, I turned to page 122 and began reading. The section I landed on depicted the moment when the story's protagonist, Jack, uncovers his girlfriend's Lysanda treachery. Strange thoughts began to infiltrate my mind as I wondered if there was a connection between the book's plot and the tragic scene that unfolded before me. Determined to unravel the mystery, I retraced my steps back to the girl's lifeless body, hoping to find any clues to her identity. To my astonishment, I discovered her passport nearby, revealing her name to be Lysanda. The questions raced through my mind. Could the killer be targeting individuals named Lysanda, seeking revenge for the fictional betrayal in the book? The pieces of the puzzle seemed to align, but the motive remained elusive. Without wasting another moment, I dialed the emergency number and explained the harrowing details to the police, desperate for answers. The story begins when I decided to throw a party to celebrate my graduation. I prepared the backyard to be the venue, bought drinks and fireworks, and invited neighbors from the community along and some friends. As the sun set, people started arriving, and the crowd reached around 40 to 50 guests. I closed the doors to ensure that the festivities remained confined to the backyard, away from the interior of the house. We began the celebration, enjoying the drinks and engaging in various games. Eventually, we lit the fireworks to add a festive atmosphere. As the clock struck 11, people started to leave. The aftermath was chaotic. The place was littered with empty bottles and cups. I couldn't believe the mess that had accumulated. Determined to clean up in the morning, I went upstairs to my bedroom and lay down on the bed to sleep. However, after about 5 minutes, I heard the sound of fireworks outside. Panic washed over me, and I stood up on the bed. I went to the window to see what was happening outside. To my surprise, I couldn't spot anyone. There were only scattered remnants of fireworks around the pool. A shiver ran down my spine, as I was certain that all the guests had already left. Perhaps one of my friends was trying to play a prank on me. I went downstairs to the backyard, peering around, but found nothing. I shouted loudly, hoping for a response. Yet, no one answered. I sent messages on both the friends group chat and the neighborhood group chat, asking if anyone was still in my house. Only a few people replied, denying their presence. I returned to my room, filled with unanswered questions. However, exhaustion took over, and I lay back on the bed. Suddenly, I heard footsteps on the stairs. I quickly placed my ear against the bedroom door to listen if anyone was outside. Indeed, I could hear the sound of footsteps. Then, unexpectedly, the doorknob began to turn. I screamed out loudly, "Who are you? Get away, or I'll shoot." I didn't actually possess a real firearm, but I thought a threat might scare them away. To my surprise, the response came from within the room itself. I glanced quickly to the corner of the room and saw someone standing there, holding a gun pointed at my head. They ordered me to be silent or they would kill me. Another person burst into the room, engaging in a conversation with the one holding the gun. Then, they both exited the room, leaving me alone with the person who possessed the firearm. I heard their voices outside, seemingly trying to reach something they could steal. Suddenly, a voice called out, urging them to leave. The person with the gun rushed outside, pointing it towards me, and then fled. Quickly, I rushed to the window, attempting to see if they had a car and to note its make or license plate. However, they had nothing. They hurriedly disappeared on foot into the adjacent street. I immediately contacted the police, and when they arrived, they asked if I had seen their car or any clues to identify them. Unfortunately, I had no information to provide. The incident left me bewildered, questioning the motives and identities of the mysterious intruders. The investigation began, and together with the police, we hope to unravel the truth behind this unsettling and enigmatic encounter. My name is Maxwell, and I have been working as an investigator for almost 20 years. I have now become the senior detective in my unit. However, what happened tonight was unlike anything I had ever encountered before. After leaving work and heading home, I received a call from my personal secretary. She informed me that there was an elderly lady insisting on meeting me immediately. I tried to evade it, but to no avail. I turned my car around and headed back to the office. Upon arriving at my office, I found the old lady waiting for me. She appeared to be in her 90s. I welcomed her and asked if I could get her a cup of juice. I looked at her and asked what the problem was. To my surprise, she responded, "I am a serial killer for over 60 years, and I want to surrender myself to the police." I couldn't immediately process her words and asked her again if there was any specific help or problem she needed. She replied that she possessed all the names of her victims and the dates to prove her claim. Doubt began to creep into my mind, but to verify her story, I called in a specialist from the Department of Psychology to assess if the old lady had any mental disorders. To my astonishment, after spending half an hour with her, the specialist asked me to take her claims seriously. The old lady had a sound mental state. I entered the office, sat across from her, and asked her to recount everything that had happened. The old lady began to narrate her story, revealing that she had started committing her crimes when she was in her mid-20s. She mentioned names of the victims and specific dates, and I asked my team to verify if there were any missing persons reports matching her descriptions. The shocking part was that every time my team responded with positive confirmation. It was bewildering for me to comprehend how she remembered all those details over the years. I started to suspect the authenticity of her statements. I decided to detain the old lady once her involvement in over 40 murders in the last 60 years was proven. The investigation process began to unravel the truth behind this horrifying tale. Through careful questioning, the pieces of the puzzle started to come together. It turned out that the old lady suffered from a rare condition called hyperthymetic syndrome, which enabled her to recall every detail of her life events with precision. However, she had no control over her actions and lacked conscious reasoning. She committed these killings without recollection afterward. Armed with the information provided by the old lady, my team was able to solve many long-standing cases. This story became a fascinating file for criminal investigation, shedding light on the intricacies of memory and the human psyche and how they can influence one's actions. In the end, the old lady was handed over to the authorities, her tale serving as a perplexing example of the complexities of the human mind and the mysteries it can hold.